Hold on one second. Okay, I'm recording. Yeah, I gathered. I heard you come down and stuff. Hey Ray, how are you?
Good morning. I'm wonderful. How are you today?
Pretty good. Where are you located, Ray? Are you out west or are you in the east?
This morning I am at Myrtle Beach. Yesterday I was in Wade, Benson, Fayetteville. Tonight I'll be in Charleston. And tomorrow I'll be in Savannah, Georgia. My um, my daughter, who's been in college in Australia for the last 3 years, has been unable to come home due to COVID restrictions. And midnight Sunday, I got her home with her boyfriend. So tomorrow we're going to surprise her mother and her grandmother and the rest of the family. They don't know she's home.
Oh, that's going to be exciting. Congratulations. I know that's a tough, long time to be without seeing your kid.
It's tough, and she's special, and so we're delighted to have her back in the USA for a little while anyway.
Oh, fantastic.
But you all are so important that I'm ignoring her to be with you this morning.
No, you're not ignoring her. You just, change the schedule a little bit. That's all.
That's it.
Yeah. So, hey, Grant, how are you today?
Hey, Dennis, I'm doing good. How are you?
All right. As far as I know. Hi, Amy. Hi, Kat. How are you?
Hi, Dennis. I have a quick question, actually, if you got a second.
Hey, I got all the time, baby. That's what I do.
Well, so I've been pondering the last few sessions. And so, Andy Kurtz was saying, I thought pretty effectively, like showing us how, much better some of his clients did after they rebranded and, even changed the name of their products and, all that. And then yesterday, Chuck was saying the opposite pretty much, which was like, stick with it, repeat, don't change with the Coke example. And I've sort of heard in the past that, to put it bluntly, until people know who you are, you sort of have a lot of range to figure that stuff out, but then stick with something. So I guess my question is, what do you think is the point where you kind of have to stick with what you have in order to build that awareness,
Great question. And keep in mind that my answer is based on what you paid for it, which is nothing. But it's a little bit confusing because realistically, you have to have product market fit before you even worry about either Andy or, hold on one second. I'm sorry. Someone is trying to bother me. So let me turn my thing off. So Andy is basically in the case where you don't have as good a product market fit as maybe you think you should. And Andy's efforts are really oriented toward growth and getting kind of a more significant footprint. The other guy, his perspective is you've already done that, right? You already have, whether it's HB LaserJet printers or whatever it is that you have, you already have at least somewhat of an acceptable level of product market fit. And so Andy really is more preparatory and more kind of a launch pad kind of concept, I think, like, let's really get this together. Let's get your brand together. Let's get your message together, get your packaging, and then you're going to see growth. The other guy is more, you've already kind of done that. You've already established that. And now you got to stick with it. And hopefully you're growing, and Pettis would be the first guy to say, hey, if you're not growing, you got to change something. So I view it as a little bit of a time and process kind of thing. Where are you on that process flow or process step? Andy maybe being a little bit earlier and Pettis maybe a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah. And the one thing that we haven't covered, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but what's unusual about this time in business, or from my perspective, I'm an old guy, is there are so many channels that you can look at, right? You could conceivably have completely different branding by channel. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. One example might be how you present yourself on Etsy might be different than how you present yourself on your own website, or how you represent yourself on Amazon, for example. So part of this is a little bit of a we don't have a lot of big data that we have access to, so we have to kind of guess in some cases. But part of the product market fit that we haven't really touched on is really figuring out the category, not category is not the right word, the channel that you should be using, or channels plural. We have one company who many of you know, in Greenville. My mind is gone. I can't remember, but Taylor. Some of you all know Taylor with her business on personalized gifts, and realistically, I'm sorry.
Simple and sentimental.
Thank you, Grant. You're good to have you on board, buddy. Simple and sentimental. But the last time I looked, and it's been a while, maybe even 6 months, but about 95% of her business actually comes from Etsy. Okay, so even though she has done a lot of things to reach out to other channels, including physical location, in Greenville, the fact is that the majority of her business is on Etsy, and if you go to her Etsy site, it really is very different than her website. So this is, I'm over talking, but the idea is really figuring out which channels make sense for you. And then hopefully you can have a unified branding and message that goes across all channels. That's ideal. Managing different personas, if you will, by channel is a really difficult task as you start to grow. But I do think that product market fit covers all of this. Are you getting the sales that you thought you would get, or you think you should get? And if not, what should you do? Should you, as Pettis says, just keep on keeping on? Or should you make some adjustments to your positioning, your message, your branding? Or should you or go to try some new, completely different channels, like Amazon or like Etsy or whatever. Even Walmart. I don't know if you all realize this at this point, but Walmart is basically copying Amazon in the sense that they are now wide open to individual sellers selling on Walmart.com, which has only been true for a relatively short period of time. You used to have to get Walmart approval to sell on there, and now they're taking a marketplace approach almost identical to Amazon. So now on Walmart.com, there are a gazillion small sellers selling just like they might on Amazon. And I don't know the particulars as far as economics or success. I have no metrics on any of that, but I do know there are a number of places that you can go to test out the various things we're talking about. So I hope that helps, Kat. Kind of long-winded, but
yeah, it does.
Yeah, I'm trying to do this somewhat sequentially, and Andy's a little bit different because he actually physically designs stuff, which makes him a little unusual. And I always like to start with him because it gets you thinking about your brand look and feel and message and that kind of stuff. But it isn't necessarily the order that you in particular should follow. So anyway, so hey everybody, glad you all could make it. If we hear loud noises and thumps, it's because people are working under my house today doing God knows what. My wife at work again. She's not doing it, but she launches these projects periodically. So if you hear loud thumps or whatever, don't worry. It's not me or my henchmen burying people in the basement. It's I think they're fixing the water seal or some such thing. So today we're going to continue with the world's fastest branding talker, Chuck Pettis. And we're going to go through 4 of them. It'll take a good chunk of the class. And then tomorrow we're going to go through the worksheet, and hopefully you all have had a chance to get that worksheet and log on, print it out or whatever, not log on. The other thing is I put on the calendar, and Grant, you can maybe focus on this a little bit. I put on the calendar, there was no class on Thursday, but more accurately, that's the day for the North Carolina export thing that I was telling you all about. And so you have to register for that. It's free, but you have to register in order to get in and see it. And I can't do it through this Zoom structure. It's a different technology, and I've tried it before. And every time I try it, you can see the picture, but you can't hear the sound. So really what it is, it's up to you individually to register and go to that, and we'll make sure the links are obvious so you can do that. It's put on by the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, which is a group that's really interested in helping you guys, our companies, particularly with exploring other markets other than just the United States. And they have pretty good money available to you all to just explore it. You don't have to actually do it, but you can explore it and see kind of what's involved. What if you did sell in Canada, or what if you sold, in China or Western Europe or whatever. So that's going to be Thursday. So just, I put not class canceled because I didn't want people coming to this Zoom address because I can't use it. But that event will be at 10 o'clock on Thursday, as opposed to 9:30 our regular. So I did want to make sure I highlighted that. Okay, so here we go. We're going to review the last one we did yesterday, which is finding your new hook.
So we're going to cover each part of this brand identity one part at a time. I'm just going to do this like really quickly. This is to give you a quick idea of what it's all about. And it's actually important if you could actually do market research to validate what you come up with. So we're going to cover the brand name, target audience, category descriptor, features, positioning statement. Okay. So here's the map. You all got one of these. First is, who's your target audience? So at target audience, you want to find out demographics, psychographics, who are they, what do they look like? Ideally, we give your target audience a name, so when you're talking about the rest of the parts of this brand identity map, you can say, well, what does Hank or what does Sally want? And it should be distinctive, and it should be actionable for your marketing. So write your target audience in your map. Maybe you have one or two. So at MakerBot, while you're doing that, we started off thinking the target audience was hobbyists and people were going to buy a desktop 3D printer. Then we rapidly found out that hobbyists only buy one 3D printer, but when we sold to companies like GE, they bought lots of desktop 3D printers. So we switched the target audience from hobbyists to companies. Bingo, sales totally took off. Okay, brand name. Okay, so it was really interesting to see you've got a lot of unique brand names, so I congratulate you on that. The problem these days with brand names is finding one that's available for a trademark standpoint and also available for a domain name. Super hard. Memorable, short, and by the way, don't use acronyms. Words are 60% more memorable than acronyms. Using an acronym is a sure way to get people to forget your name and what you're doing. So category descriptor, this is actually really important. Back in the late 90s, all the high-tech companies, I wrote a book called Technobrands, all the high-tech companies thought branding is what it's at, so they started brand naming every product and coming up with tchotchkes and coffee cups and t-shirts, and they thought branding was done. I remember going to Sun where I did branding for the Sun Ultra Enterprise servers. And we'd done a map of all Sun in the middle and all their brand names, and there were like 70 brand names all around Sun, looked like the asteroid belt. And Scott McNeely was there, and they all realized that they made a major mistake here because nobody knew who all these names were. Plus, it takes a lot of money to manage those trademarks. So people like that, like at Microsoft, unless you're a billion-dollar brand, you don't get a new brand name. You have to use one of the existing Microsoft brands, and you need to use a category descriptor. A category descriptor is 2 to 4 words. It's a generic phrase. It's a hook so people know what you're talking about. And so desktop 3D printer. That was a term we actually made up at MakerBot that hadn't been used before. Now that's the generic accepted term. Tablet, smartphone. So this is not a funny name. This is not a made up name. This is what hook do you want to fit on in the minds of your customers. And you always want to link your brand name and a category descriptor. So I've done a bunch of work for HP LaserJet printers. And they always do HP LaserJet printers. So you want to put your brand name and your category descriptor right afterwards, so people hook your name and can associate your name with the category you're in. This is actually a really important decision for you to make. Category descriptors, you need to have it so people really get it quick. One thing you can do is you come up with a list of category descriptors, you brainstorm. You get your team together. You give them, let's say you got 5 category descriptors, you give everybody 2 votes. You have them vote for the category descriptors that's going to be most simplest and easiest to understand for the target audience. And then you can do that with actually, ideally, your target audience, do some market research with them. SurveyMonkey works great. This is one that's really worth researching.
I don't know if any of y'all have used SurveyMonkey, but I believe they have a free aspect, a free layer, if you want to use that product for surveys.
This is really important. Features and benefits. What is a feature? A feature is a factual statement about your product or your service. You know, dimensions, specs. What are benefits? They're the end result. What does the target audience get from that feature? So here's an illustration from HP. The features are up to 40% faster, uses up to 53% less energy, up to 40% smaller, and the benefit is all this beautiful illustration. When we work with HP LaserJet printers, who actually got 90% of the market, they started off with just a picture of the product. Then they started showing the product with a person beside the product. Sales popped. Then they started showing the product with a person, showing the output that just came from the HP LaserJet printer with the right emotional expression. 90% market share. So that's what these features are really important. So, and how do you decide about features? You want to find the features that when your target audience has got it down, whether they're going to buy you or someone else, you want to find the features that motivate them and switch them to buy you rather than the competition. Features are really important. It's another area that really ought to be researched. Okay, let's go. So my question is, for you, when you're selling, I mean, you all got up, you got your 2 minutes to do your pitch. What are the top features and selling message for your brand, for your product, for your service, for your target audience at the time when they're making the decision maybe to fund you, whether to partner with you, whether to be your customer? Examples of top-ranked purchase factors: reliable, scalable, grow as you grow, responsive, knowledgeable tech support, easy, fast, and affordable. So notice these are not complicated. These are easy to understand. The shorter is better because you're going to have to repeat these over and over again verbatim. Now I want you to do, thinking of your product, your service, what is the number one feature, purchase factor for your product or service in the minds and the hearts of your target audiences? These top 3 are actually from when I did work for Sun, when they were going from engineering workstations to wanting to get into the server marketplace, and we nailed these. It was done through quantitative research. They pulled all the top customers, 100 customers here in the city, and the analysts, they presented this. They were on message. They repeated these messages. They showed Larry Ellison up there showing scalable. And the analysts go to the top customer, what do you think? And the customer goes, it's just what I wanted.
Notice that this idea of what is the number one reason, number one feature that customers associate with your product or service. That's a really key understanding. You know, it's not all of them, it's just what is number one.
So you've done your feature. Now I want you to think, what are the benefits of that feature, your target audience? And ideally, you want to brainstorm and make a whole list of why is that good for your target audience. And you want to bulletize them. We aren't doing paragraphs here, we're doing bullets. And then you want to think, hey, how does that make your target audience feel? When you deliver on the feature, when you deliver on the benefits, what's the emotion that makes them feel? Does it make them feel smart, confident, in control, safe, strong? You know, they're all these incredible emotions. Then you use the feature and the benefits for your messaging, and then you find imagery that's going to evoke this emotion when your target audiences look at the imagery. Now, this sounds simple. It actually isn't that hard, because if you do this with a group, you can ask them, how does it make you feel if you deliver on this feature and the benefits? Most people have no problem telling you how it made them feel. Then you need to go do research and find out what imagery is going to evoke that emotion. Now let's go to the tangible benefits. And now I want you to do, what's the intangible emotional appeal? So you've made your feature, you've made your benefit. Now think about, how does your target audience going to feel when you deliver on that feature and that benefit? And think of an emotion. And then if you're really cruising, think about what kind of image you could show that would evoke that emotion with your target audience. So this is actually perhaps the most challenging one. This is called the positioning statement. The positioning statement is your most repeated message. You need to use this when somebody says, who are you? Or somebody in your company uses it and they say, what do? You want them to use the positioning statement. It needs to be repeated verbatim, not reworded. It needs to quickly describe what your company does and the benefit to your target audiences. It's generic and descriptive. We are not talking taglines or slogans here or funny, cute headlines. We're talking very straightforward, descriptive of what you do and the benefit to your target audience. A couple examples. With the Intel Celeron processor, you can expect an affordable and reliable PC for your home or home office. Idaho Conservation League preserves Idaho's clean water, its wildlife, and quality of life. The Blackstone Launchpad, powered by Techstars entrepreneurship program, helps students succeed. So the shorter is better because you need to remember it. And you've all got, I think, the fill-in form. This is another one that's really worth testing. You want to get everybody to memorize it. You need to find a positioning statement that you and everyone in your company is comfortable saying over and over and over again, like 1,000 times. And you also need to find a positioning statement. When you say that, your target audience says, tell me more. It starts the conversation, because after you do the positioning statement, you give them your top 2 features and purchase factors, and now you got them. You're reeling them in. And you need to keep the number of purchase factors as short and sweet as possible, because people just can't handle a lot of purchase factors and features. You need to keep it really straightforward. You want to repeat your name many times, because in branding, it's all about brand awareness and familiarity. You need to repeat your name so many times so people actually remember it, and then you connect that. It's called brand association with what you do. So use the message in your brand identity map repetitively. Avoid rewording. Link your brand map to your operations. You need to link the brand operations to make sure you can actually deliver on what you're promising in the features. Give it to everyone in your organization. You want everybody to use this. If they won't use the brand, if they won't give it the program, fire them. You want the right people on the bus. Read the book, Good to Great, and get these people who aren't going to participate, who are going to rein on the right messaging, get them out of the organization before they screw you up. And thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so the world's fastest speaking branding expert. I'm going to encourage you to look at these again, these 4 videos for tomorrow. The goal for me tomorrow is really to help you craft your positioning statement. That's really really the objective. There are lots of other pieces to this process, and we just don't have the ability to fully do this. This could be its own course, really totally separately. But if we can get you to think about your positioning statement, and some people call it elevator pitch, some people call, there's different names to it. But what he said is you want people, everyone associated with you, whether it's you or your employees or customers, you want everyone to be able to describe what you do in the same way, in the same language, not paraphrased. So this is not easy to do. I'll warn you in advance. It seemed like it would be easy, but I've actually found it to be very, very difficult unless you take the perspective that it is going to take some time and you're going to have to iterate to come up with the right one. It's not just some magic word. And you may already have a great positioning statement. I'm not suggesting that you don't. But in my experience with businesses that I've worked with, this is really an important piece to your brand identity and to, like, for example, when I talk about you all, individual companies, to people that are interested in what we're doing. It could be someone from the governor's office. It could be, someone from ECU's administration, yada, yada, yada. I try to use simple sentences to describe what you do. Now, there is a little bit of variation in that because I tell everyone about Kime wearing a peanut suit when he sells on his live video show, because I personally feel that is a brand positioning statement all of its own. And every time I do that, people just start smiling. It's just like, he wears a peanut suit? So very unexpected and very, very effective. So, Kime is known as the guy who wears the peanut suit. Sorry, Kime. I gotta, yeah, whatever, right? So, but that'll be the goal tomorrow. So I'm going to encourage you, even if you watch all 7 of these videos, it's only roughly a half hour, maybe a little bit longer. Every time you watch it, you'll get something else. But if we can come out of tomorrow with you well on your way to either having a positioning statement, actually having it, or well on your way to getting it, I will consider that a successful branding effort, because this guy talks about it. He says, you're going to repeat this over and over and over and over and over. So get it right. Don't repeat something that's not right or is not really descriptive of what it is that you're doing. And if you start to think about the emotional side, this really gets difficult, right? How does the customer feel? How do your partners feel about your product? What is the emotion that you elicit? Because if you are, again, going back to the very first video with Simon Sinek and what about your why, or what is your why? He talks about over and over and over and over, they don't buy what you're selling, they buy why you're selling it. And that emotion is the why. That's really the power, of choice in a merchandise or a marketplace, is really, how does your product make somebody feel? Does it make them feel smart? Does it make them feel thrifty? Does it make them feel sophisticated? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this area, this emotional market research, is actually a relatively new field in the field of marketing research. Historically, marketing research has been gathering data, right? And getting lots of information. And what they're discovering is that this kind of wild card, this emotion aspect, is really a much bigger deal than people had thought of before. So that's just that's what I'm hoping to accomplish tomorrow. So I'll open up to anybody have any questions or concerns or issues like what Kat brought up at the beginning. Anybody have any thoughts? Ray, come on, talk to me, brother. Okay.
No, it's a lot to take in. I mean, he moves so fast that you got to go back and absorb it.
Yeah, I agree. Samantha, what, you had something you were.
I do. This is always sort of tricky to me because I don't know how broad or how narrow or how specific or how general, it is that sort of Goldilocks thing, I think, that we're looking for, I guess, for this positioning statement. And sometimes I start broad and then they say, no, what is your niche? So I always get confused about this because do you have a niche, or how does this work? How do they work together? I mean, okay. I get very confused about this.
Well, your positioning statement is really incidental to which channel, which market, which niche that you're going to explore, right? I think it's before you even get to a market, whether it's niche or broad or whatever it is. So your positioning statement is really the message that you're going to give to whichever market you approach, whether it's a niche market, whether it's an online market or a grocery store market. So I think view it as a little bit sequential. The very first thing you have to do is get your positioning statement, because your positioning statement really isn't going to change based on the market, right? You're doing what you're doing for a reason in your heart and mind. So you want to communicate that, and then it will be consumed by various markets or understood by various markets, or it won't. And you'll find, well, that market's not for me. I'm not connecting, right? The people in this channel are not really my customers or prospects. So I think it's sequential. I think the marketing positioning, the positioning statement, the brand statement, all that kind of stuff is a step before really addressing a particular market, whether it's niche or otherwise.
Okay, so it's more sort of just telling me what the brand stands for.
Why are you doing it?
Why
Right?
am I doing it? Okay, so while we were sitting here doing it, can I just throw this out then? Because I just sat here and wrote something down. So I said Cottage Lane Kitchen is a woman-owned business preserving family heirlooms. Is that too general? Is that too specific?
Well, it doesn't tell me anything personally. My
Okay.
reaction is a woman is preserving family heirlooms.
Mhm.
What is that? How does that connect with me? That, for me personally, as a typical meathead guy, it means nothing to me, right? What I'm looking for is, really great taste or really unique blend of North Carolina grown or Cottage Lane Kitchen grown ingredients. I'm all about, and we're talking about peppers and hot sauce. I want to know about that. Whether you're woman owned or it's from, Egyptian days, it doesn't really matter to me personally. Anyone else want to react?
Oh, that's very helpful, because I just, I don't know exactly what we're looking for. So I think it's one of those things that once you get it, but I don't get it yet.
Yeah, exactly. No. And that's why I said it's really, really hard. I can't, like Chris is going to say something. I was just about to point out an example about the bakery goddess or whatever the hell she has going on over there.
Well, for Samantha, I hear family heirlooms, and I think kind of what Dennis was saying. I'm like, the first thing that popped into my mind was like, oh, you're a quilter or something like that. So it didn't tell me, kind of hit on what you are doing. And I don't know, I guess I'm kind of can be confused too, that you're just going to blurt out, oh, we make pepper relish, but somehow tying that in to be a little more specific.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I think that this is the kind of thing we'll do tomorrow too. So be prepared to be defensive and feeling like you're being attacked because you will be. Anyone else want to chime in? Kime, what do you think about?
Well, Dennis, that's why I'm still here. I haven't got it figured out either. So, but I love it, and I learn a lot every time we do it. But yeah, I'm kind of like Samantha. I love her story and what way she presents it, but it consolidates that and get the point across is where we are, and that's what I'm struggling with now. And I've done a lot of different things, trying to get some feedback, and some people love them. Like I say, if my biggest win in this whole thing is the peanut soup, then hey, I'm going to ride that all the way to the bank. But we got to come up with a little more than that. But kind of like Samantha, I'm carrying on Opal's candy tradition. It is in my heart what I'm doing and why I do it. And not only because I enjoy it, but I found there are other people that enjoy what we do as well. So trying to tie these words in and communicate that in a very short opening statement is where I'm struggling with right now. But I think I'm on the right track. So hopefully we'll have something to unroll tomorrow that I won't get kicked too terribly bad on.
Yeah, I don't think we have to worry too much about short, medium, or long. I think that the idea of a an elevator pitch or a quick communication, you automatically think it's, like some tagline from Double Mint Gum or something, or some really short little thing. It doesn't have to be that short. It has to be succinct and it has to resonate with your target audience. But short doesn't really have that much to do with it. I don't want to make this overly difficult. It's going to be difficult enough. And even if we get to a place like Kime just said, he's been working on this for a while, we got to start somewhere. That's really all I'm trying to do. This does not mean you'll come up with, a pithy, absolutely spot on positioning statement tomorrow, although that would be nice. But I don't, that's really not what it's about. What I'm trying to do is get you to think about this stuff and how to apply it in your business, because, and like in Samantha's case, or really many of you guys are really busy, whether it's making the product or, getting it out one way or the other, shipping, that it's difficult to step back and look at this in a bigger picture, right? And a little bit of, well, who is on the other side of this? What are they hearing? We tend to value, for example, busyness. How busy am I? Or how many orders did I get? Or whatever. That's all fine, but that's all, I put it in the area of tactical, not strategic. This is strategic stuff that we're talking about here, that if you can correctly identify your positioning statement, your brand story, your brand message, your brand look and feel, if you can get all that together, you will be even busier than you are now. That's my belief. So this is really more in the strategy arena rather than in the tactical day-to-day operational aspect of your business. That's the way I look at it anyway.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if I had the cheese straws and then I came about, it was just wild how I came about doing the spice blends, because that was for a weight loss company. How can I combine them? Because, the spices were meant for no sugar, no preservatives, no artificial. It's meant for many, many eating plans, whether it's diabetic, heart healthy, weight loss, or just normal eating plans. But, then you have
You locked up on us, Amy.
Side.
I don't know.
So that's why I built the brand
is it my
Savory
computer?
Spoon for the spices, because there's no sugar.
No,
and my
not.
business is sugared
Are you all, can you?
Yep. Well, now I can't. I could hear for a minute.
with Southern people. Any thoughts?
I'm so sorry, but you froze up on my screen and I didn't hear anything after you did spices for the Weight Watcher company. I apologize.
Okay. So I did the spices for the weight loss company, and it was meant for no sugar, no artificial, no MSG, low sodium. They're very healthy, so they fit a whole lot of different eating plans. So how can I bridge those things together? So I created Savory Spoon brand for the spices, because obviously they don't have sugar, and I was trying to keep them separate. But how can I brand for both? Like, how can I bring them together?
We will talk about that in more depth tomorrow, and there may be some ideas from some of you folks who have experienced this, where you have different product extensions within your brand. So I don't want to answer off the top of my head. I need to look at your website and a little bit more at what you're doing. But it might be that your name, Sugared Spoon, might be too limiting, right? It might be putting you in a box, even though you in fact have Savory Spoon also and other things. So, that's a possibility. It may be your brand name may not be relevant to what you're now doing. May have been at one time. So that's kind of my gut reaction. But let's work on that and let others in the group also chime in on that, because that's a pretty common. I think it's a pretty common outcome for people who are doing niches, if you will, or certain specialties. When they find a new application, how does that affect? And in some cases, big companies launch a whole new brand, right? And they don't even mix them together. They keep them separate.
And that's what I've done, but
yeah. So anyway, I don't mean to drop the ball, but I need to think about that. And maybe come back to you with some relevant examples. But I know when I heard your name, Sugared Spoon, I thought in terms of, sweet stuff. And I happen to be a diabetic. So my reaction to sugar is automatically, well, that used to be me, but not anymore,
But I do sweet stuff. So, I'm open once a month to the public, and I have a whole bakery case, and I do chocolates, confections, cookies. I do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But, I got lucky and got spun off on some of this other stuff, and I just don't know how to pull it all together to start really focusing.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, honestly, I'm open once a month and doing stuff on the side to help fund where I'm going with this other part.
I hear
So
you.
I'm trying to find the balance.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I will definitely take a look at your stuff today, and we'll address it tomorrow. I'll kick the can down the road till tomorrow.
Okay.
Anyone else want to jump in? All right. Well, as you can tell, this is not going to be the easiest thing that you've ever done. And in some of your all's cases, it may not need to be done. You may already have it, and that's fine. But I do want to, I think it's a very critical piece to your success to really know, what is your brand position? How does it make your customers feel? Not just get them to buy, but also when they buy it, is it a behavior that can be repeated? Because obviously repeat customers are better than one at a time. Go ahead, Chris. You're raising your hand. Your microphone's off. There you go.
There we go. I think I mentioned this before, and you kind of talked about it a little bit, I think yesterday or the other day. I think one of the most, I'll call it powerful exercises I did in a class I took a few years ago, even pre-COVID, was we were asked to reach out to like 30 of our customers.
Yep.
And again, just schedule that 30-minute interview. And when I just emailed asking for help, and if you wanted to help me, just reply to this email and we'll set up a 30-minute time slot. And I asked them all the same questions, like, why do you buy our product? How does that make you feel? And then you can keep digging deeper. How does that make you feel? It really helped me focus in on what our features were to our customers. And some of the customers were people I knew. Some were, I think we were asked to like pick your reach out to your top customers, that people that have spent the most money with you. And I didn't know all of them. And that just really, I think your positioning statement, when I keep thinking back to that exercise and how what people told me helped me feel like I had a better understanding of why people bought our stuff.
Yeah. In this field of entrepreneurial education, it's known as customer discovery, and it's a real kind of foundational thing. What the trouble I have had using that technique is our companies are, they're so different in terms of where they are in their life cycle. Some don't have customers to reach out to, right? They might have prospects or somebody, or they don't have enough customers. So I've been a little reluctant to go down that path. Some of these programs, I know one program, they require you to contact 100 prospects and customers. And it just takes so long. It's really, really difficult to do. So I just don't do it. That's the way I've come about it. But I think it's a great idea. We've talked about, doing Zoom calls with your customers, reaching out to your customers. We've kind of talked about it indirectly, as opposed to actually making you do it, because it's really hard and takes. One course I was involved in, it was 6 weeks just on that, just on customer discovery. So it is a great thing. For some of you, it's well worth doing a customer advisory panel, or you can offer them, free something or other to be on your panel and to talk about stuff. It's after the pandemic, I would argue it's much easier to do that now with a Zoom or some other kind of online thing than, actually trying to sit down with somebody and face to face. It just can be a challenge, depending on what your business is and where your customers are. So I'm a big fan. It's proven that it's worked. Every major accelerator starts with that process, and I've just been unable to figure out how to incorporate it formally. So I always encourage it informally. So good.
I know when I did it, I think I talked to like 4 or 5 people total. But even that small amount, and I even recently did it with, after one of our pop shop shows, because after they added the local pickup option, and we had one show where 50% of our orders were for local pickup. And so I reached out to those customers and I asked them, why did you choose to come to Pop Shop and why did you purchase that way, to see if that was something that they wanted more of.
What did you learn?
I think I talked to 2 or 3 of them about that.
What did you learn about? I'm just curious. What was their response?
I think it was that I teased them with a new flavor, some new products that we don't normally offer, and because the things that we always make, they can get locally. So I teased them with, this was the first place you were going to get this. It wasn't going to be available anywhere else for like another week.
Scarcity. Scarcity is a great marketing tool. If people do respond to that. I also think what's interesting, and we're going to obviously talk a lot more about live streaming video, but one of the things I really like about it, what Chris just said there was a whole new experience of her customers, of her, right? They were buying it local, but the reason they were buying was something that Chris did not have before. She didn't have this reveal process or this only for this event or only for you or whatever. So that's a whole new learning, if you will. And it might turn out to be a very significant part of your business, or it may turn out to be noise, but to Chris's credit, she's trying to understand it and reach out but also, and I don't mean to pick on Chris, but I want to make the point that talking to 4 or 5 is not statistically significant. It's just not enough. Even if you get all the answers you're looking for, you really need like 50, which is another reason I don't do it, right? The time it takes to talk to 50 people is just enormous. But truthfully, if you want to get a sense for it at some sort of scale or some sort of statistical significance, you need to have as many really as you can do to get the good input. But with the live video streaming, and Chris, I don't know if you can back this up or not, but one of the aspects of it is the conversion percentage is much higher than on a regular e-commerce website. In other words, the number of visitors to your live stream that convert into a sale is dramatically higher than the number of people who come to your website and buy. That's been my experience. So that's a whole different animal. To me, it's almost a hybrid between a physical location and online. It's kind of the best of both, if you will. But anyway, we will talk more about that. So thanks for sharing, Chris. I'm not picking on you. I promise. All right. Anyone else have anything they want to bring up? Okay. So tomorrow, if you get a chance to print this thing out, this is not going to be techie type of thing. You're going to be writing on this form, and it's going to be you. It's not going to be me. I'm not even going to see it unless you send it to me when you're done. But I encourage everybody to print this out. This is kind of, I don't know if it's showing up. It doesn't look like it shows up. But anyway, just print it out, the PDF document, because we're actually going to try to do as much of that as we can. I'm going to try to figure out how to incorporate a whiteboard into this so that I can put stuff on the whiteboard that we all can see. I don't know if any of you have experience doing that, but apparently we have that capability, but I've never done it. So that'll be what I'll be doing today, learning how to do that, hopefully. So we can see the stuff that that we want to share, and we'll put it up on the whiteboard. So, all right. Well, that's all I got. So I'll hopefully see everybody tomorrow.